Good morning and welcome to the very edge of Ipswich. This is the town behind me, you can see over here, and I've just followed about a mile and a half or so of just roads kind of out of the town. Really not very pleasant at all, but I've now just joined the edge of the Orwell Estuary here and the tide is coming in, so the wildlife is starting to be pushed up against the bank. It's really nice. Seen loads of egrets all fishing and stuff down there, which is really nice. And I'm about to head over to the Orwell Bridge, which is up here. I'm going to head underneath that. So this is part 3 of the Stour and Orwell Walk, and I'm going to be walking from here all the way to Shotley, which is about 12 or 13 miles, I think, something like that. I'll find out when I get there. And this is actually the second to last day of the Stour and Orwell Walk, because after that I'll do Shotley to Cattawade and then it's all completed. But I'm really excited about this section. So I've only ever been along here once before to sort of spot some of the local wildlife. I'm really excited about walking along the estuary and a few of the historic buildings that I'm going to see later on. And then I'm really excited to get to Shotley as well, because there's a couple of Martello towers there and hopefully I can get a decent view of those. Now sadly today I have forgotten to bring my GoPro, so everything's going to be on the SLR, so it might be a little bit shaky on this stretch unfortunately, but I've got such good weather. Hopefully get some really nice views and hopefully get the drone up to get some nice aerial shots as well. So I managed to just get underneath the impressive Orwell Bridge, and I've got this wonderful view right down the full length of the Orwell Estuary. And I mean, I don't know where the land is right at the end over there. It's probably near Shotley, who knows, but you can see lots of little coves kind of as it goes, meanders its way down towards the sea over there. And I'm now about to join the road briefly to a footpath that passes in front of this really popular farm shop. So I've just arrived here at St Peter's Church in Felixstowe. Now the church itself is actually directly on the trail, but it's a little bit of a detour to come and have a look at the lovely building. It's grade 2 star listed and dates to about the 13th century, and the porch and vestry here were actually added in the 19th century. Unfortunately for me, it's all locked up. There's a little sign up saying it's locked because of recent thefts, and it's just a bit of a disappointing thing to find, because who on earth steals from the church? It's unreal. But I can still look at the outside of this lovely building. So I've just taken this little detour to check out Felixstowe Tower, which I saw yesterday, but I wasn't expecting this amazing view over to Orwell Bridge. And this is Felixstowe Lodge, The lodge is 15th, I think, or 16th century, and grade 2 listed, and the tower itself is actually behind the trees, and there is a public footpath that just leads round, and that's grade 2 star listed, and I think was dated to 1550. But I'm going to go and have a little look at that, and it's only 400 metres or so off the trail, so it's definitely worth a little detour. Just as you went to Wolverston Park, you pass the Church of St Michael. Now this dates to the 14th century and is grade 2 star listed. And Wolverston Hall, which is now a private school, it's just about a quarter of a mile over that way, but sadly I don't think I'm going to get any views of it. Fingers crossed later on the walk, but it'd be a real shame if I couldn't see it. Just coming up to Chelmundeston Marina, and I know there's a lovely sort of riverside pub and cafe, and it's about halfway-ish I think from Ipswich to Shotley, so it's actually a really good place to stop and have a decent break before continuing along the edge of the estuary all the way to Shotley. I'm just passing through this lovely area of woodland here. I've got pine trees and stuff, and I've just passed sort of native trees. And this is a National Trust woodland called Pin Mill. I can't really seem to find much information on it at the moment, but I'll put some text on the screen if there's anything sort of really significant. But it's an area of open access, there's lots of footpaths everywhere, and thankfully the trail is quite well waymarked through here. Now, what I've done actually is I terminated my day's walk at Chelmundeston just behind me because I didn't have the GoPro, and I've decided to go home, get things charged up, and I've now come back a different day and continuing the walk on to Shotley, just so I've got the GoPro and everything else is charged up as well. Wow, look at that. That is quite awesome. You've got a bird's nest in here as well. And it is alive. You can see some needles and stuff at the top, but such an unusual tree. But anyway, I've got, I think, about 5 or 6 miles of almost entirely estuary side walking. So there's this short section through woodland, and I think I descend down to the edge of the estuary and follow that all the way to Shotley. And I'm really excited actually to see across the estuary over towards the areas I was walking the other day, places like Trimley Marshes, and also I get to see the massive ship container and stuff like that at Felixstowe port as well. As you can see, I'm right down now on the edge of the estuary, and there is so much wildlife about. I had a woodpecker just over the top of my head when I was by that tree, and then down in the water over there, just feeding on the edge, I've seen widgeon. I'm pretty sure I saw a pintail, loads of redshank. I can hear oyster catchers, I can hear curlews. Literally everywhere I look along the edge of the water, there's just so many wading birds. It's so lovely. And this, I think, is going to be company all the way to Shotley. It's going to be really nice. So I've just passed a couple of houses called Orwell Cottages, and I spotted this, and it looks like a small harbour or something like that. You've definitely got a clear cutting here, and you've got some remains of a wooden jetty that would have come out along the side, and then something else over there as well. You can see a couple of drag marks in the mud, and it looks like the locals actually still use this to get in and out with their kayaks and things. I'm finally arriving right onto the very edge of the water. This ahead of me is the flood bank to stop it from flooding all of the marshes on the right, and you can see very old wave breakers and things like that, or I assume they are, and a wonderful example of tidal mudflat and salt marsh here. Very, very rare and very rich in wildlife. They also have a wonderful long distance view all the way down to the Orwell Bridge, easily 4 or 5 miles in a dead straight line. And across the river, or across the estuary, is Levington. I can see the church up on the hill, and then a marina just over there. So a couple of days ago I walked behind that marina and I could see the church, and it was Levington Creek that kind of goes inland and then juts back out again. Really, really nice to see it from this perspective. I've never walked in this area ever before, and it's just so nice. So I'm still making progress along the seawall. That is Stratton Marina just behind me. That's what I passed a couple of days ago and I saw earlier. And I've now got my first full view of Felixstowe port, and yet again another massive cargo ship there. And actually to the right I think I can see the church tower and lighthouses of Harwich, which is the end of the Essex Way, which I saw from the very start when I was at Landguard Fort. It's quite an unusual walk in the fact that you're following 40 miles of these two massive estuaries, and yet you're always so close to where you were like the day before. It is literally the other side of the river. It's really quite awesome. I'm getting quite close to Shotley now. I can see the Martello Tower just on the peninsula over there. But I've stopped here for a reason. Actually, I need to get another shot. There's two kingfishers sitting on this horizontal branch next to that bush over there. And they were sitting together on this fence, and I got some shots down there, but they're both together, so I'm gonna have to try and get another shot. I think they're both juveniles, because the call that they were making is definitely not the normal kingfisher sound that I know. It's kind of like a really high pitch, kind of flutter. It's a really unusual sound. Never heard it before. So I had a little look on the camera to see what they were, and I say there were two kingfishers. It's absolutely lovely to see. And I also heard a Chetty's warbler just about a quarter of a mile back down in the reedbed. So much wildlife on this section. It's just amazing. Right alongside these massive container ships now at Felixstowe port. But you know what? A couple of days ago when I was just over there at Trimley Marshes, I could see Harwich and I could see Shotley. Now I could see what I thought was a water tower, and I checked the map and it said it was a Martello Tower, so I was like, okay, yeah, it was just silhouetted, couldn't really see it very clearly. Now that I'm here, that's what I could see, and it is a water tower with the Martello Tower underneath. So at some point, before it was listed and protected as a Scheduled Ancient Monument, they thought it was a really good idea to use the building as a water tower. And I think the other Martello Tower is actually the same. Really unusual, but okay. It makes good use of the building. You know, like 100 years ago, whenever they needed it as a water tower. I think it would probably be better if they removed the water tower bit now and just left it as the Martello Tower, but well, it's up to them what they want to do, isn't it? Something that people may not realise about this area of Suffolk is that it was so heavily defended. Now obviously I've explored a part of Landguard Fort over at Felixstowe, and here it just looks like there's a single Martello Tower, but there's actually two either side of an enormous battery. And then on the other side of the Stour Estuary is the Redoubt Fort and Beacon Hill Fort. So in reality there's like 4 separate sections that are all so heavily defended. So if anyone tried to come up the English Channel and invade this area here, it would be just a continuous bombardment of cannon fire. We've just passed Shotley Marina. It's only just back there, and actually it provides the only available overnight accommodation at Shotley. But there is a regular bus service, so if you wanted you could book a couple of nights in Ipswich and then use the bus service to get yourself back and then return the following morning. But I do have this lovely view now over the Stour Estuary towards Harwich, and Harwich Dock just over there. So this is where I'm going to end my 3rd day of the Stour and Orwell Walk.